In this video, I attempt to use the world's most valuable brushes ever. Whether their value is justified is entirely up to you, and it's probably a subjective opinion because the honest to God truth is, I made them. Let's get started. G'day everyone, I'm Jazza, and this has got to be the most unlikely collaboration video I've ever done so far. I don't pull this off, do I? I've been learning a bit of dressage, and it's really fun. And ever since I've been getting lessons riding this beautiful Frisian stallion, I couldn't help but notice this glorious hair flowing in the wind and wondering to myself, I wonder if you could make art out of that. Not the horse, but the hair. Let's move on. I'd like to introduce you to Tash from Your Riding Success.
Hello.
A little bit about your YouTube channel.
My channel's all about helping riders be all they can be and enjoying and loving their riding journey.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that Frisian hair is very valuable.
Very valuable.
I was actually wondering if you might be willing to part with some Frisian hair for me. I want to make some brushes.
So how much do you need?
Like at least like that much. Is that doable?
How much we could do?
I should probably earn the Frisian hair before I do it.
He wants to go. He
wants to go for a ride. So Arba wants to go for a ride. Hopefully I'll earn his approval too. And I'll show you guys where I'm at, and I think the best way to do that is in slow motion because then everything looks cool. Any people who actually ride horses who watch this channel, don't be too mean in the comments. Alright, so just from the back?
Yeah. Couple of inches. Perfect.
Alright, so I've grabbed a couple of inches.
That is so awkward. I meant a couple of inches from the bottom.
Oh, from the end? Okay. I'll make it up to you. I'll make a really cool artwork to make it worth your while.
If it's cool artwork, it's going to be amazing.
Thank you, Arba. Oh my God, that's his whole life right there that I've just ruined. I'm so sorry, Arba. Alrighty, here we are. This is what I got off of Arba. Essentially, the length of the Frisian hair can be valued at around $1,000 per inch. Still going. So 63 times 1,000 is $63,000. I might have cut too much hair off. Okay, so I think before I get stuck into trying and potentially failing, I should watch a couple of videos about how brushes are made. Just maybe pick up a few tricks. I mean, that seems pretty straightforward. In theory, I could create that shell by pulling apart one of these brushes. So it's just like creating the shape of the brush after the brush is put together. It's coming to me. I think first things first, I need to process the hair I have, smooth it all out, divide it all up a little bit so that once I break these apart, I can put it all back together in some usable brushes and then make something as awesome as I possibly can to make it up to Tash. So I did everything in my power to make these the best brushes I possibly could, starting off with straightening it and creating little bundles that would be easier to work with. The straightening thing being the main thing, of course, because, you know, I can't have wavy hairs that I'm making brushes out of, otherwise they'll sort of wave out into all different directions. So using a hair straightener, funnily enough, I straightened sections of hair and neatly tied up and bundled little groupings of these straightened bits of hair. Also gradiating from the thicker parts of the hair, which were actually closer towards the neck of the horse, all the way out to the thinner parts of the hair that were grown out towards the end of the hair. Also not knowing what quality either of them would be, but it just allowed me to sort of improvise on that basis and work within a consistent thickness and texture of the hair itself. Next, I needed to make the brushes with a handle, of course, and rather than do something sort of, you know, bespoke and clever, because I don't know how to turn wood or do anything like that, I just pulled apart existing brushes, which it turns out is really hard to do. Like, these things are seriously glued on and like the metal is bent to wrap around the wood, and it's like, yeah, they're not meant to be pulled apart. And it took hours. In fact, the full first day was just straightening and cutting hair and tearing apart brushes, which also turns out tears your hands apart a little bit. Let me just show you what I've got. I finally deconstructed these brushes. I suspect I'm gonna end up with a bit of a rustic look. I think it could be really cool, but I have no idea how I'm gonna construct these brushes. I suspect there'll be a bit of external string and wire and all that stuff to keep it all held together, but I think we're ready to make them. So, attempting to put these brushes together, bristles to handle, I just used basic like PVA or wood glue because, I mean, from the texture I could gather when I pulled the other brushes apart, it seemed like there was a glue that had a little bit of flex in it, but that was also really solid. And let's face it, PVA is like the magic glue that does most things pretty well. So I grouped various bundles together and selected a number of handles to try and create a variety of brushes, but also pick the bristles that went well together. Tried to really reinforce them and glue them together so that they wouldn't fall apart under fairly strenuous use. This was a pretty time-consuming process and took a lot of finesse and a lot of carefulness, but also was not pretty, and it was becoming very, very clear that these bristles, the thick Frisian horsehair, was not what brushes feel like, and probably would not end up feeling like normal brushes to use. But hey, that's all what this experiment is for, right? That and the entertaining content. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more fun with art and creativity. At long last, I had the foundations of my brushes complete. Specifically, the bristles were held to the brush stem, and I mean, that's about it really. I guess that's all the brush is. But they didn't look very pretty. I hadn't shaped or trimmed the bristles, which I'll get to later, but I also hadn't made the brushes look very nice. So obviously they all come from different sets of brushes, and I wanted to create something that looks uniform and also, I think, would at least be an artwork unto themselves, because I was losing confidence by the second that I could actually paint something with these brushes. So I might as well make the brushes look as cool as possible, which I did by using some flexible armature wire and wrapping them around the stems of the brushes. With the wire wrapped around, it keeps a bit of a uniform look that I could use as a foundation to paint over later. So I tried to shape the bristles of the brush after trimming them with a bit of a starch mix that I improvised. I tested these on normal brushes and it worked reasonably well. So it I guess was just going to come down to trial and error to see if this actually would work with the Frisian hair. I'm trying to give these things some shape, but the hairs are so thick, it's really quite difficult. This is one where I've been quite extreme in my approach because I feel like I might have a chance to have it hold some shape. I mean, this is sort of odd. It curves in at the middle and then out at the top. Anyway, I'll try and refine the tips a little bit more later. But for now, I need to tape this last one, spray paint all of these handles and paint them all up to be a matching style. So at least they look like a very unique set of brushes that go together. Whether they paint well or not is an entirely different question, which we will put to the test soon. But with that done and set aside, it was time to move on to make all these brushes look as fabulous as they possibly could, whether they could paint decent or not, which we'll find out in a moment, but I put a lot of effort into making them look spectacular. And I gotta say, all things considered, I think they look pretty bloody cool, with a really nice metallic paint around the coil near the top of the bristles, and then painting a mahogany-esque sort of oak. Wait, no, they're two types of wood, aren't they? Mahogany and oak. A really nice old wood stained handle just to tie them all in and make them look uniform, but really sort of bespoke and old and cool. In the end, I think the brushes turned out to actually look really, really cool. I have them here in my hands after a week working on these things. These are the most valuable brushes I own. They are also probably the most useless brushes for painting that I own. I think they actually look the part. I feel like I've deceptively made them look like they're a little old, they're a little rustic, enough to make you click on this video, so that sort of works. But Can I paint with them is the question. So the thought I have is that Tash, who owns the dressage stables who I rode Arbor on and took the hair from, has some pretty cool photos of Arbor. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Bloody majestic. Anyway, the point is, I got a few references and I thought if I paint Arbor with Arbor, I thought that could be pretty cool. I'm gonna have to just take my time and see if I can make something semi-decent and then give it to Tash and hope she likes it. It's painting time. Let's put these things to good use. Okay, all right. I'm gonna own up to this now, guys. They were not able to be put to good use. They were terrible. These are the worst. These are the worst brushes I've used in my entire life. But let's start off with the process, which began doing a bit of thumbnail painting to just sort of figure out the color schemes of whatever I would create. And even in this process, the brushes were really hard to work with, and I found very quickly that I was gonna have to be pretty abstract in whatever I painted, because I was sure I wouldn't be able to hold a good shape on the tips of the brushes or get any reasonable detail in. So with that in mind, I went ahead and picked the color scheme I liked on my large canvas and started to work that in. And yeah, there's no sugarcoating it, guys. These are the worst brushes on the planet. I know the thumbnail and title might have deceived you. I thought, honestly, the value of the materials that went into the brushes is certainly, there's there's a lot that's gone into making this attempt possible, but there's probably a reason that this hasn't been attempted. But hey, you know what? It was fun to try, and I gave absolutely everything I could to make a cool picture, because at the end of the day, I had to give it to Tash to try and make up for the hair that I cut off her precious Frisian stallion. So with my abstract picture starting to wrap up, I thought I'd take a really daring step and do a little bit of a paint drizzle thing. You know what those abstract paintings have, and they have like you sort of dribble and they have the lines of it. Yeah, I hoped it would look really like intentional and abstract and cool. Yeah, but I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of it if that worked or not. I have a finished painting. I don't know how I feel about it. So I'm pretty nervous to hand this over to Tash. I really hope she doesn't hate it, but I'm going to give her the brushes too, because at least I think they did turn out pretty cool.
I'm so excited.
Tasha, I'm glad. I'm going to be honest with you. Arbor is a lovely horse. You know how much I love him, and you know how grateful I am that you sacrificed his hair. But he makes a crap set of brushes, so I'm going to be completely...
Wow!
These, I would like you to have these, because I'm very proud of them, but we'll wipe them up because of the whole coronavirus thing and all that stuff, which wasn't a thing when we started this collab. I had no choice but to paint abstract, and I am not an abstract painter.
That is epic! I love it!
Epic's a good word because it doesn't imply like bad or good. Behind it, back
it's gotta go like in
you gonna put it up somewhere?
Yeah,
Alright, well if it was up somewhere and someone walks past it, they might think, ooh, arty farty. I don't understand or like it, but that must make it good art. The reason Frisian hair is valuable is not because it makes great material to work with to make brushes out of. However, it does make a Frisian horse absolutely gorgeous, which is why Arbor is amazing, and I'm really looking forward to riding him,
yes,
which is going to be happening over on your channel. You're going to be teaching me a little bit more with Arbor, so what can we expect over there?
Well, it's hard work to learn how to ride a horse, and I will be taking you through a pretty hard session, but alright, bring it on.
I'm a hard worker. The end result doesn't always, it may not turn out alright, but that's okay, I'll still work. Thank you so much for doing this collab with me. This has been so much fun. It's certainly been a challenge, but the most important thing is it's been entertaining and something fun to try, which I'm never gonna do again. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and go check out my video over on Tasha's channel where I actually give it the proper old college try to ride some dressage, and subscribe while you're there. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe for more fun with art and creativity, and until next time, see you later.